What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, John Fosco's fired up.
I'm always fired up, Cory. I'm just trying to contain it.
Maurice Clarett looks so focused when he walked in the studio.
You got a fresh haircut today, too, I got to tell you.
Yeah,
you know what? He's looking good, this guy.
Put that shit on.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy over here.
I tried to do a goatee one time. I looked terrible.
No, it didn't work. It didn't work for you.
Way better than I did.
No.
So we're excited to talk about soft spots in business, if they should be there or not. I'm really excited to hear what John has to say. And John
as always,
John has a treat for us too about what he ran into in the gym. So me and Maurice didn't want to hear it before we started because we don't want to hear it twice. So I'm excited to hear from John. And it's brought to you by Robinhood. I mean, we're top 10 on the charts. John Fosco out there killing it. Robinhood's been supporting us. People are buying stock. They're giving them stock. I mean, what do you think?
I think we know that our listeners are going and downloading the app, and we know that the app is the easiest to use stock trading app, and we also know that people don't have to pay commission fees,
which is awesome.
Right? And we know it educates people on the stock market, and it truly does. We say this all the time, but that in and of itself, allowing young people a lower entry point into the market does democratize the American financial system, and that's why they are disrupting it.
Really no entry point because they're actually giving you a share of free stock. If you can believe that, it's biceps.robinhood.com. Get a free stock such as Apple, Ford, or Sprint, which is kind of crazy. So,
can't lose.
Yeah, you can't lose. John, I think we'll start with you.
Yeah.
I know we talked briefly before we jumped on about, just do what you say you're going to do. Right? OG as a motherfucker. Like, that goes back as long as business has started, that your word is worth it.
Hey, that'll light me up or make me happy till the end of my career. I think generally speaking, when you accomplish a partnership in business, so many people, they take that breath like they just ran, 800 meters and they won that gold medal. They take that breath, and what they don't understand is that's not where the work ends. That's where it begins,
yes.
And that's where the terms that the deal or the partnership was established on, they change from terms to expectations, and those expectations are non-negotiable. So if I can relate this to what we're going through, I'll speak for myself. We deal with all kinds of partners and vendors that get a lot of money from us. And when you are the individual or the business writing the check, you make the rules. Can the rules be talked about on both sides? Of course they can. Of course there's a reasonable level of dialogue, but when you write the check, you make the rules. And I'm not saying to be a megalomaniac and be out of your mind and I pay you so you got to do. No. You have to be realistic. But when you establish expectations with a partner that the deal you guys created is based on, those expectations, they turn it into solid rock and they're non-negotiables. And if and when your partner, who you established this deal based on, doesn't deliver on those expectations or non-negotiables, sorry doesn't work.
No.
And I'll tell you why sorry doesn't work.
Johnny.
It's not an opinion, right? It's because when you don't deliver, it has an adverse effect immediately to my business. So your fucking sorry can suck my fucking dick, right? No. Hey,
I hear you.
Hey, your sorry can suck my dick because when you're a businessman, you are planning everything you do based on the money going out, the money coming in, the products coming in, the services you can provide, the labor you can afford, and somebody who is been allocated a large sum of your money, a lot of your funds, doesn't deliver on a deadline. It's like a domino effect on your business.
Forces you to make mistakes. Forces you to make excuses to other people.
Yeah, you have to make excuses, or you have to go apologize to other people. Or here, let me tell you the worst part, Mo. Or you lose a fuck ton of money because let's say you were supposed to have a new product delivered by the end of the month, and you know that if you drop it, you got another 50, 60 G in a day in sales, and you've been hyping it. You've been getting your customer base ready. Oh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. The day it's supposed to fucking drop, we don't have it. So not only does a business have egg on its face, but the customer base looks at you like, man, should I really be fucking with these guys? They're small time. They can't even do what they say they're going to fucking do. And it's not our fault. But it is our fault, because when you take the word of anybody without seeing definitive proof, the joke's on us. The joke's on me, right? Because until I got this fucking bottle in my hand, I should have shut my fucking mouth and not said a word to my customers about when it's going to be in, because I fucked myself. Now, the supplier fucked us, and they're sorry can go get fucked. So what they need to do, as someone who's making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year, because they get to fill a fucking bottle that we sell to our fucking customers, they need to financially make up for that. They don't need to talk about, oh, we're going to do it better next time. Well, next time, give me my 60 grand that we were going to fucking make if we put it out on time. We don't get that 60. So don't do better next time. Give me a better price, or fucking drop prices on everything. That's how that is the language of business. That is the language of business. Money. It's not you're sorry. That does nothing for me. I got to hold my dick when I hang up the phone because you're sorry, and I got to talk to Cory and say, Cory, how are we going to audible here, not look like dumb motherfuckers, hit our monthly goals because our supplier is sorry?
You see why John Fosco is an amazing partner. You don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah,
hey, if you're the manufacturer, that's the conversation you're about to have.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, as he was talking, like the whole show is called Business and Biceps, right? And so we can either sit here and talk about hocus pocus shit, or you can talk about some shit that's really a reality.
Yep.
And as he was talking, and I don't care if it's in the supplement industry or any industry, when a person doesn't deliver, and you were right, I was saying excuses, you have to go around apologizing for people not doing their business. But when, like, the space that you get past, like when it's time for people to try to get business, they come in their nice suits, they have the great conversations, they have the great presentation, they talk about, here's my history, here's my track record, this is school that I graduated from, and really, all that shit is just trying to warm you up and say, okay, now can I fuck you? Now can we have sex?
Right.
We've kind of foreplay,
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? And the sex
I
is
give
the
you a
money.
hand job.
Quit finger banging me.
Yeah, but now it's time to do the deal and separate the money. And so basically what he's saying is like, you've hyped us up. You said that, we were going to have this amazing relationship, and, I line all of these other things up, and you got all of these resources, and you're talking about the money made, but you're also talking about the money that you paid the person to post those posts, the money that you paid the person to hype this whole machine up, the time spent behind that. So calculate that into the actual equation of people doing that instead of doing other stuff. And then when they don't deliver, it loses integrity on some level. It got people asking, you just feel like, man, you're not delivering. So, man,
money lost, man.
And so, but if you don't tell them the truth, like, one, they can't get better, but then two, you're not just telling the truth of the situation. And how you make up is, yeah, motherfucker, where's the money at? Make up by giving me an amazing deal on what we're doing, or I just go elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Like, but people need to hear that shit, because if you're really trying to build a business, like oftentimes, and I struggle from this, and as you're even talking about it, I'm appreciating it. Like sometimes you get in business and you never, as you're growing the business, you never have a platform to hear about real business. You always hear about like the rah, start your shit up, but you don't really hear about the operational mechanics or real situations. But I just think to anybody building a business who's on this platform, I guarantee you that they relate to it, and I guarantee that they appreciate it. That's just my 2 cents.
I thought it was great, Johnny. I think it's a real life scenario, and I'm glad that it popped into my head before
Absolutely.
Because that right there, I knew it was something we had been dealing with recently that was upsetting to us, and that most people are going to deal with if they're going to produce a product. It's just the reality of it.
And I want to say one thing to close it. In this situation, and this is for the listener, this is what not to do and what not to say. In this situation we're speaking of, or you heard me speak of in specifics, we were told that we're going to try to move your delivery date up that we already fucking missed by weeks by putting this is from a manufacturer, we're going to put our own product line on hold. So we're not going to manufacture our in-house brand so we can get to you, our customer. That has got to be the stupidest, most disrespectful comment I've fucking heard in the past goddamn year.
It was bad.
Because when you were fucking sucking our cock to get our business because you knew we were going to pay on time, pay early like we always fucking do, you never said, you know what? If we have line time and we missed a deadline, we're going to run our in-house brand before you. That's their business. That's not our fucking business. Our business is our fucking product.
Absolutely.
It's the stupidest shit I've ever fucking heard. So if you run a business and you fuck up, do not tell anybody about your problems.
Because they don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
Hey, when he dropped that, I thought John, you know how like they have, is it Wile E. Coyote where the steam comes out the ears?
Absolutely.
And it should be. So that's a great takeaway, Johnny. All right, what I was going to talk about today was, I always talk about and think about, and me and Mo, we've talked about before, Johnny, about the whole breaking the cycle stuff, things that you don't like when you're young that you want to change. And I think that overall that's been a huge overarching thing for me. So what I try to do is take inventory often on, am I not just executing from a business standpoint on how helping change and breaking the cycle, but from a personal standpoint, one of the things about my dad is he was real kind of reclusive, never spent a lot of time with us. And even though usually when I'm busy, it's in a business manner, but to make sure that, hey, if I don't really have to be doing that right that second, I should be doing something over here with my kids that, that could be making some type of memory for them, or so they don't have that same perception of their dad. I know that my kids are going to say my dad was busy because I am, but that doesn't mean that they didn't feel valuable with the time that I spent with them too. And so it's just one of the things that I was kind of trying to do a checklist for myself this week, because look, time is going by. They're getting older. AG is about to be in 8th grade. Before you know it, he'll be out of high school. It goes like that, right? I mean, you know what the deal is, Mo. So it's it's one of those things that not only from that standpoint, because the overall break the cycle, I done blew the cycle out I knocked it out of the park, right? It's not that we do not operate. The stuff that we say is not the same. That was my main focus as a businessman, and I reached it, but just still having that checklist of just personal time and just family time and that kind of stuff to continue it across the board, and really trying to checklist myself. So it's one of the things I've been talking about or thinking about recently.
No, even as you talk about that, I'm gonna tell you it was probably 2014, and you want to talk about just the spiritual, genetic, and the family connection. Now for my entire life since '84, I was born in '83. '84, my father and my mother separated, right? I was amazed. I probably, spent, I would say, quality time around my father 10 times within, all of the years. And that was probably some weekends here and there when we were younger, but not a significant amount of time. But for me, after seeing him from a distance, growing up, the interaction he had with other family members, it was amazing to me how much my life was identical to my father's and never being around him. Never being around a guy. And it was even crazier that one of the first things I did was get into the transportation industry. And the reason that it was crazy to me was because he did the exact same thing, the exact same way, the exact same industry, the exact type of work. And I can remember myself, I said, why does this right here make so much sense to me? Why is this so easy to me? Why am I receptive to this? Right. So my grandmother, she obviously, his grandmother, my great grandmother, she had started motels, like basic motels back in the 50s. You know what I'm saying? She's a woman entrepreneur, first black woman entrepreneur.
That's cool.
And, starting hotels. And then my father's sister was an entrepreneur. And so it was amazing to me, or I guess amazing is the only word. But I asked myself, like, is there another different level of life? And I think that's what attracts me to John's mother, or like you deal like in a whole different space. Like what connects you to your parents? What, from not even being around this person, why is so much of your life
genetics, man? You can't change. You can't change it.
But then, so like my inquisitive mind wants me to go into what is genetics and keeps you connected. What like from a telepathic way, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you talk about spirituality and telepathy, and you talk about the transference of energy and ideas, and you talk about those things, and they seem like, third world country-ish to us, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like real, hocus pocus, sorcery. People seem to think like that. But if you just talk about genetics from football, my father was a good football player. When I look at these things from a social service standpoint, I got all that stuff from my mother, but I can't say that there was a bunch of stuff in my life that happened that made me want to feel that way.
Did you see these things? Like, so you talk about the similarities between you and your dad. Were you observing them at a young age?
No, so that's what I'm talking about. I didn't observe them in any of it. I didn't observe football through them. I didn't observe entrepreneurship through them. And like that, I guess that's the point that I'm making. I'm glad you asked the question. I didn't see none of that. You know what I'm saying? But I ended up being attracted to it, and it became easy. And I never, you feel where I'm coming from?
So the bad qualities can be the same way. That's kind of was my point, was that the things that are starting to show themselves from time to time are things I disliked. And so I know where they come from. And that's where, you know what I'm saying?
So we're saying the same thing. Yep. To like, so as you were saying this, like I'm literally, I was getting a chill over myself, like, oh shit. It lets me know that there's a deeper meaning to life. Yeah. Like, you get older, you start to be inquisitive about shit.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you start to be like, fuck, where did this come from? Like, I'm starting to feel something different. Yeah. And as you're talking about it, let me know that it's like, that's within every person.
For sure.
So, it's just crazy. Like, just even the things I respected about my father, like I took, right? So my father was never a successful entrepreneur, but he was dead set on wanting to be an entrepreneur. He was like, I don't give a fuck if I fail 1,000 times. I think inherently I have that quality, right? I don't want to call it a stubbornness. It's just like, I don't believe I can lose. I don't believe that, like, I just don't see myself doing something else other than betting on myself or depending on myself or thinking that I can come through for myself. So as you were saying, I was like, fuck, this is like, like this is what makes me want to get up and go to Barnes and Nobles and fucking leaf through books and read or get to a podcast, and it just lets you know that something else is out there. But then, as you talk about, like, you slow the world down, you slow these external things down, you slow your daily living down. And I could just remember your mother sitting over there, John, and as she was sitting there, you could tell when she was talking from a place that just felt like it was different. It was awesome. You know what I'm saying? It was just a total different space that she was connecting with and speaking from, but that place, like, is available to everybody. You know what I'm saying? So
that's an interesting way to put it, because when let's say if I talk to her after work, which I do often, she's got to, in her own way, bring me out of this. And she talks to me in a way where she's like, no, honey. And then, like, I feel like I'm almost like coming out of my mind or coming out of my body. And then it's like we're speaking on a different level. And a lot of the conversations could be about my father, who I don't speak to, but I have some very similar traits. And she helps me understand why.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. But she does. But that's exactly right. It's coming from a completely I don't even know how to describe it. It's a different zone.
Well, it's not like in the present, right? It's like outside
it's a spiritual space, brother.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you,
Well, it's almost super present. It's almost like more present than, because as we speak, we're speaking on experiences. I spoke on an experience that was taken from the past. You speak on experiences you're grabbing from the past. It's almost like everything is present. It's almost like she'll grab me and be like, listen to how the tone you're speaking in now. Listen to the speed of your listen to your anger right now. And it just like backs me up. So it's almost super present.
Yeah. Extra present.
I ain't there yet, you know.
Well, I think to one more point that you kind of made, Mo, is that my father also tried 3 or 4 different businesses. It never worked, and he always had these big dreams, right? He always talked about them, but never really had action or acted on them, or got to a point and would go back to working underground or driving truck, or he just never really pushed all the way through, right? And so I think that was the other thing, is I saw 3 to 4 times where he either gave up, failed, however you want to say it, and went back to the comfort because he either, just didn't figure it out. So I think that is also part of my process of the same type of mentality that you have, and obviously that John has.
As you said, the first word that came to my mind is like a form of reincarnation, Like, so they say, well, I believe that, you don't die. I think energy lives on. And as your energy lives on, it goes to your family members, or a piece of you go into your ancestry. You know what I'm saying? And I ask myself, like, is that life? And I'm speaking like on a whole different realm, like when you think about things that you've seen before, done before, and you think from a spiritual standpoint, like I don't believe heaven and you see God with some big ass beard and you walk through gates. I just don't believe it. I just believe it's just energy, and it stops and it gets transferred to something else. And these are the things that I think about, like, even as we're talking about this, is like, are you reincarnated? And are you, I don't want to say a species, but are you something developing, and the information is constantly giving to keep on evolving something? And this is very weird.
It's like you're building upon it.
Yeah. So, but I'm telling you, like, there's an ecosystem of life I'm interested in, right? I get on the treadmill every morning, and my guy can attest to this. I find like a curious thing about this, right? So you got this glass that's in front of the treadmills, and every day these what are they called? These insects fly to the glass because they obviously see the light, and then the birds come out, pick them off every day, right? And as those birds pick off, bigger birds come down and snatch that from them, right? And I just was talking about like how the whole world feeds off each other, right. and like it just makes you think. I'm like, man, think
about the parallels to business from what you just said.
100%. That's where we went to. But the irony is that we watch Fox, we watch MSNBC, we're watching all these shows on the thing, and you start to think about how like just people feed off of each other. Right. And then I ask myself, how much does that connect to life? Like, take all the things away. And
it doesn't really connect to life. I don't think.
No, I was just like, so I guess where I was going with it, just how everything feeds off of each other and everything gets recycled.
Sure.
So from the recycling process, it feeds off of it, it recycles. And I was thinking about people feed off of animals, we feed off of grass, we feed off of everything. And I would just speak like, so my mind gets into these places, and I guess like I'm starting to find my happy place, like staying like a spiritual space, or staying like in a space disconnected from everything, and nothing sort of trying to get me mad. And I'll stay in these spaces for a while, then I come back down here, and I stay in these spaces for a while, and I come back down here. And I guess the ultimate zen, or the ultimate place, is to get there, to stay there, and to say, hey, things don't bother me. Nothing bothers me. Come or go, win or lose, things come, they just don't bother me. And not being attached, I guess the ultimate place to be. And I had something totally different to speak about, but what you were just talking about, like, it's rare you get chills, you know what I'm saying? But I was like,
it's because it's real as a motherfucker.
Yeah, when he said, I was like, oh,
well,
shit.
All three of us have had stuff rear up that we know where it comes from, I think, or have asked people to figure out where it comes from. And I think that if we can, deal with it differently than a different generation, then ultimately that's helping break the ultimate cycle, which is what, like, John, the things you saw growing up, you're not going to repeat that. You know that 1,000,000%. Even if it came out, you would stop it.
Well, it's as simple as sometimes the most effective form of learning is seeing and understanding.
Yes,
that's what not to do.
I believe
1,000%. I got an amazing education in life by seeing how not to act, what not to do. So I marked it down in my little ass fucking brain, and I was just like, never.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. That's sometimes the best learning, is when you're upset about the way it was done. I mean, it's just it.
It burns something in you.
It does burn something. All right, good job on that, guys. I think we'll go to questions.
I totally forgot what I was going to talk about.
That's all right. I think, but you know what? That dialogue was so good. I think that's
totally
that's
forgot.
what we're about, man. That's going to provoke some crazy thought for people.
Yeah.
Because it's got us all thinking and staring into space right now.
I'm thinking on it right
now.
Right,
Johnny?
You
got anything else you want to add before we?
All I can say is I've hocus pocus. I know I've interacted with things that I believe aren't alive and aren't human. So I know that. I know that. Anyone could say whatever they want. I don't give a fuck.
But you know, since it's not on TV, since it's not on Instagram, since it's not wildly pushed, somebody can receive it as hocus pocus.
Absolutely.
But if it's real to me, it's real
matters.
to me,
Yeah.
brother, is all that fucking matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I don't deny it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you feel it, feelings, you can't deny what you feel, and nobody can validate or invalidate what you feel. That's the beauty of fucking
That's why
life.
gut and intuition is so important.
I think that's the universal truth, and I think you choose
Yeah.
to deny. Like, my gut tells me I shouldn't be doing business with you. I go against my gut. I go against my common sense, but the world is giving me the feeling, right? But since I've not been conditioned to pay attention to my feelings or been conditioned to trust my own thinking, I deny what I feel. But what do you do when you go to weight? Like this, what is weightlifting? I feel like I lift this.
Yeah.
Like, and as simple as that is, like me and John, we go, what do UFC fighters do? I feel like I whoop this motherfucker's ass.
Of course.
Everything is feeling. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I can build max effort.
Belief.
It's belief.
But you feel it and you pay attention to
Absolutely.
it. But
Yeah, it
we're
starts
taught
with the
to
feeling.
deny
You're right.
and reject our own feelings. This is stuff that you feel.
Right.
Every time I go against it, I lose.
Brother, you're
By
going
the way.
Right.
I
Every
don't
time.
Know. Well, I don't
I
wanna
like
run
it,
into the
though.
question.
It's good.
No,
That's
but I
good.
think that's the birth of passion, right?
Yeah.
Like what you feel that you can't deny, and if you keep feeling it, it's like that's we brought up following the smile. If you keep feeling something, follow the feeling, man.
It keeps coming back,
what
man.
I'm
You know
saying?
that's where you
Like,
need to be.
It can't be a lie
Ah.
because you're not choosing to think about it. It's just in you.
That's why I can't deny this, what we are doing right here, because I told this to John the other day. Nothing else that I've done in business has made me feel the same way that had to do with something to lifting weights. I feel the same way to come do this with you guys that I do when I go to the gym in the morning. And other than spending time with family, there's nothing that does that for me.
Brother, listen to me. I drive.
I know you well, Mo. So I told this to John too. I said, I've never seen Maurice go out of his way this long of a period of time.
No.
You know he's serious.
No,
Because I'm the same way. I'm just not going to do it.
But you know what? So to be blunt, there's a different level of enrichment. There's different things I like. So there's not too many spaces where you could just come and have good company. So the busier you are, the least amount of time you have to spend around friends, right? So you don't do
100%.
it, so, right? So now this is a time to get away. This is a time for me. I just believe I'm in a space right now where I'm 34, but I still want to teach. I want to teach. I want to help to explain. I want to give my perspective on something. This stuff lives forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You understand the importance of this stuff. And it's something that you really appreciate, and I think that I just enjoy it. I totally enjoy it, and the way I feel, my mental health, my interaction with other human beings outside of just what I do in the gym means more to me, and I guess I'm valuing that amongst. I value that, so I value this space, I value this platform, and I think that for those people, I think John said it a while ago. We were at the gym. No, we were at the Bison Burger place, whatever the fuck it's
Ted's.
called. Ted's. Yeah, I just called it the Bison Burger place. But
close.
He was like, we got the hardcore fans who listen, who appreciate us, and so those guys get it. And I just want to keep on giving and giving and giving and giving, and eventually have it spread to people who just really think that they can come here and get something from it.
Love it. All right, Jeremy, go ahead, buddy. First Q&A.
All right. First question, how do you manage being aware of what your competition is doing, but also keeping your head down and focusing on your own business?
I think the second part has to come first, right? You got to keep your head down and focus on your own business. I'll say it again, in a non-negotiable fashion. That's something that is like, it's almost like if you're in school, guys, if you're listening and you're in school, you got to get your schoolwork done so you could fucking graduate. Like, that is a priority. Getting good grades is a priority. Just like in business, doing the right thing, servicing your customer correctly, putting out the right products or services, and innovating constantly and coming out with new things and bringing more. That is rule number one. Now, your competition is something, we'll bring it back to school. That's your homework, right? Your competition is when it's late at night and you got to cram and you spend 2 or 3 hours on the internet looking at their sales strategies, what they're doing, how they're selling things, how they're marketing things. Now, that should not influence you immediately to make changes, but you should be aware of what they're doing, because business is peaks and valleys. And if you start going into a valley, you need to start paying more attention to the industry and your competition. So when you're paying attention to the industry and your competition and you're in a valley, you may see like, wow, there's this new industry-wide strategy that we are just missing because we've been too focused on ourselves. That's why you have to balance doing your homework, right? Getting your grades, and then if you do run into a place or get into a space where you're like, damn, the same shit that used to work isn't working, then you got to take a look at your competitors and say, how are they doing what they're doing, and is the game changing in front of me, and did I miss it because I was too focused on my business and not the industry?
The way that I do it is, so I think it was one of my favorite things that Lil Wayne has ever said. He said, somebody asked him about competition. He said, I really don't know what anybody else is doing. I just know what I'm doing. And he acted like he's aware of what they're doing, but he don't do a deep dive, basically. And he said, I'm just over getting mine in my way. So I tried to take like my version of that to, we'll take the supplement business, right? I've been in the supplement business for like 10 years. I see and I'm aware, but I'm never trying to be like anyone else. I want our brand and the way that I operate to be really in my own and our way, straight up. And that, like John said, if something's dramatically changing and there's somebody that's murdering it, then I'm going to look at them, pay attention, but I'm never going to let them influentially change something dramatically right that second that doesn't feel like it's part of what the brand is being built on. So I like to it's very afterthought for me, because I feel like at the end of the day, if you can do it in your own way, ultimately you're going to win, because it's so unique. Just like the sack, just like the artwork that we did, like it's completely different than everyone else, right? And this business isn't even built how the last supplement business is built. So it's literally our own thing. I want people to look at us. How the fuck are they doing it? I want to be the leader of that, not the flip side that's saying, hey, me too. We are not. I have never been a me too. It is not my thing. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I don't think that I would say anything totally different from anybody. So I don't want to confuse them with another opinion. But I would probably agree with both of you all.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I would say, just for dialogue, is that I think there's a stark difference between being a me too and diagnosing a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? If there's a problem, it needs diagnosis, and the place to diagnose is the marketplace filled with competitors that, hey, there's always going to be a Steve Jobs of every marketplace. And I think having the humility to look at it and say, man, we do a lot of things good, but what can we do better? I'm obsessed with it. I don't want to know what I do.
I actually pay attention to more people outside of the initial marketplace that I would aspire to be like, rather than in the marketplace sometimes, which is good, bad, or indifferent. But you can get a lot of good ideas from outside of your area. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love Dollar Shave Club. I've talked about it before. The way they do things, their old school branding, the way they've done things. Like, most probably supplement brands aren't looking at Dollar Shave Club. is my guess. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So like I like to look at, like, back in the day, I paid more attention to Nike and Gatorade than I ever did to Muscle Tech or somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't pay a lot of attention to industry people. I paid more attention to the bigger boys that were clean and were doing a similar distribution model. That's how I kind of did it back in the day, if it makes sense. Ready for Q2?
Let's do it.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
If things are going well within a business, but there is always room for improvement, what sources of inspiration do you seek out for bettering business even when things are going well?
Mo.
What sources of inspiration? I would say I can definitively say last week I didn't seek it out. The inspiration sort of sought me out when I went to go speak at an event, and I went to go speak at an event that was 100% about real estate. And it wasn't that I was lacking inspiration, but me constantly being open to just learning all the time, me being humble probably 98% of the time. That there was a real estate conference that I went to, and I didn't care so much about the real estate, but I really got inspired from just the extreme optimism and hustle and grind and let's make it sort of deal. And that's one thing I seem to like about, I seem to be attracted about guys in sales, guys who take on positions where there's no salary and 100% commission, or something that's heavily driven in, you chasing, you going to hustle. So if you ever see who I follow on the internet, I may not care anything about their marketing level, multi-market, what do you call it, MLM business. I may not care anything about their business, but I love the fact that they want to hustle and get something. I would fall in love with the lady selling Avon. I just seem to be attracted, or if I'm looking for inspiration, just to answer the question, I look for people in sales. People in sales are really saying that whether they succeed or not, they're taking the approach that I'm about to make this shit happen myself, or I'm about to go get information. Everybody in sales typically has the 10 books that probably everybody pulls from, and they all have their perspective and they all chasing it. And there's some girls like on the internet, they sell these little vacations to people, and you can see that they try. You may understand that they may not have a lot of success with it because it's flooded and too many people do it, but the energy that they have. If I'm looking for people for energy or inspiration, I'll look to those people, just because I think energy is the transference, or is one of the best things you can get from people. I don't care if a fucking kid, why do kids support lemonade stands? Because you see the energy of this kid and the inspiration. You're like, okay, they're trying to make it out here. But for me, I tend to chase people in sales as forms of way to inspire me, or I follow a bunch of that shit like that, the secret shit, positive thinking. Those things seem to keep my mind out in the right space. So that's just me personally. Those are the things I follow.
So I'm gonna comment on what Maurice said about people he follows on the internet. I just remember I've only heard John Fosco once in his life talk about somebody he was excited that started following him. It was Maurice Clarett before he knew him.
There we go.
He said, "Yeah, Mo started following me." But anyway, John, go ahead. I'll let you weigh in on it, buddy.
No, I was just thinking as he was talking, and I just think I believe the question was, if your business is doing well, how do you find inspiration to do better? And I would say this was an article I told you about that I read based on Les Wexner, right? Who's the richest guy in the Columbus
who we need to get
area.
on the podcast, Mo.
Right.
You could probably make it happen.
Hey, listen to me. If I tell you we're number one in business,
you do it. Yeah. We should go to his house and do it, Johnny. Go
absolutely. And he is he set a record for the longest tenured CEO in Fortune 500 history.
Boss.
It's like 55 years. No one's ever been a CEO for that long.
55 years.
Yep.
He's in that icon category I keep talking about. We should interview. That would be
55 years.
And the reason he's an icon is exactly because of this question. So I read about it on Forbes, because he said, every year, whether I'm selling women's underwear or clothing, he goes, the customers zig, and if you're doing what you did last year, you're zagging. He goes, I got to zig when they zig. So what you did last year, expect to do something radically different next year. And I think it's the understanding that what makes a business successful in a year's time or 6 months' time is basically goes to the point that we've talked about before. You should always be running two businesses if you run a business. The needs of today and how are we going to innovate in 6 to 12 months. How different is this business going to look in a year than it does now? And you should be working on that plan constantly, and you should also be working on the needs of today. So I think it's preparation and understanding that technology changes, business climate changes, the economy changes, your customer base changes, globalization changes, and that is going to have an effect on your business. And if anyone thinks what works today is going to work in 5 years, they're going to be out of business in 5 years.
I think that's an amazing point. And John, it's hard to do sometimes because it's like you have to be conscious of it all the time. And it sounds like Les has been conscious of it the entire time. Obviously, he's a local guy. For you guys that don't know, that's a guy that started Victoria's Secrets, Banana Republic, Abercrombie & Fitch, Express, Pink. I mean,
he owns L Brands.
He owns everything basically that's around here that's balled out of control, that's fashion related.
As he was saying, that one thing I thought that helps you to stay dialed in, and even though you may see the fruits of his labor now, I think you can only take that approach if you're focused on developing the business or not. Because there's always points, right? So you make money, right? So when you make money, you can say, okay, I can go enjoy the fruits, or I can go push the business, reinvest into the business. And I think that he's just probably taking an approach to constantly reinvest in business, but constantly reinvesting in business forces you to learn new shit, right? Yep. And I can guarantee you all those markets that he's invaded, he's probably used, to what Cory's point was when you said you don't look at I didn't look at guys within the industry. I looked at Nikes and other people outside the industry. Yep. Those cross beliefs or those cross principles from all of those industries, I've guaranteed that he's applied that to all that stuff to help him grow and develop. But it's interesting, like even just to think about that, like I think you kind of blew my mind. He said 55 years he's been the CEO. Yep. Like it did two things. I was like, damn, for real, 55 years he's been committed. Like you're committed at that point.
Fortune 500
yeah,
CEO.
Most spent some time with him. He's a pretty unique guy.
Yeah, he's very unique, and he's very he's still focused though. Like if you see his demeanor is like you can tell his mind is on his business, and you can tell his disposition towards shit is like, I'm serious about my business.
I'm gonna put it on you, Mo. Let's go to him.
That's to me. We can craft it up.
And one more thing he said that I loved is that the joke's on you if you stop being a student. If you think you are the boss of an industry, which he's like, I have been, the joke's on me. Because the day I think I sit on a throne is the day the young guy comes behind me, and because I'm sitting on a throne. And
I know some people that work there, and they're in meetings with him on a regular basis, and yeah, he's not operating in any other manner than that he's present and dialed in. Yeah, they said it's pretty wild. I mean, dude's like what, 70 something. Yeah, but just what he does. He might have the biggest yacht, so and so. I think he got the second biggest yacht in the world. He's got crazy shit.
But I think it's relative.
Like, no, of course that's his norm, man, because of the kind of money he made.
Poor way of thinking. I used to think about people. I'd be like, man, you got all this shit. You got all this shit. Shit. At some point, when you rake it in billions of dollars, this is like a Toyota to me.
Exactly.
You know
exactly. Yeah.
Not even a Toyota. It's like a bike.
Yeah, literally. You know what I'm saying?
That's just normal. I mean, they got two jets that go from from Columbus to New York every day. I have a friend that works for him that basically he works in New York. He goes and gets on the plane every day and goes back and forth to New York.
Do you understand?
But it's not vanity. That's business.
No, but I'm saying is at the end of the day, like that's the level he took it to. Like that to him was normal.
So let me tell you like this. I used to think that was vain too.
That's not vain.
Until I start saying, I said, man, I literally was riding down the freeway. I said, man, I wish I had a plane to catch from Columbus to Youngstown. I said, I can get so much more done because I start calculating. I said, okay, I'm spending 6 hours in the car a day. I got to wake up. I'm thinking of all these things. I said, man, if I was doing enough business to catch a plane, and it wasn't that I was doing it like, I want to be on a fucking plane. It was like the time you can get to places, the time you can be in places. So I'm seeing these dudes, absolutely. I guess you get, I don't know, I sound like
Wexler's doing it for a different thing because he ain't posting it on Instagram.
He ain't posting it on the ground.
That's enough to be said. All right, we'll go to the last point, John. I think I'll throw it because that was 2 questions, right, that we had. We'll throw it to the last kind of major point that we're going to talk about. And I think you're a great one to start this off, John, is when you hear somebody say, in business, do you have a soft spot? Should you have a soft spot? Meaning like, should you always be rigorous or, people say cutthroat, but I don't really think that's a great term because cutthroat's something different than just handling yourself.
Yeah.
Just because you're maybe firing somebody or somebody's not meeting the need, that's not cutthroat to me. That's an expectation. That's a different kind of term. But go ahead, man.
So I think there's a misconception by people who don't operate daily in business that it's there's a soft spot kind of leader, soft spot kind of boss, and there's a cutthroat motherfucker. And cutthroat motherfuckers are unfair, and soft spot dudes are who I like to be around. Well, I think a lot of people who are attracted to, let's say, leaders or bosses with soft spots are attracted to them for a couple reasons. One, they could probably show up late. Two, they could probably go on 2-hour lunch breaks. Three, dude's not holding them accountable. So my point is that if you got a soft spot, your people are identifying it immediately. Okay, business is like the fucking jungle. If you have a soft spot, your people are going to kick that fucking spot every fucking day. Not literally, but figuratively. And you are going to get gamed by them. Okay? I don't want to call it ruthless or this or that, but if you're about your business and if you're principled in this game, if somebody shows up late, it's, hey, come in here. Dude, it's 5:09. Like, that's not how things go here. You got me? If they do it again, it's you're either out the door or this is strike two. We all know strike three and you're out. So people understand, like, hey, don't fuck around with him or her, because it's not because they're an asshole. It's because business starts at 9 here. Those are the rules. And also, when we're trying to get things done and you have deliverables as an employee, if you have a soft spot and you go and you don't deliver to your boss and the boss has a soft spot, it's like, okay, do better next time. Well, the employee's going to, it's just human nature. It's the law of the jungle. They're going to keep not delivering. It's like, okay, I need you to deliver next time. And then the business is the one that suffers, right? The business is like a child that needs to be fed. It's not getting enough milk because you got a soft spot and you're letting all these people kind of skimp on the food they give it. Now, when you are a little more hardcore or a little more direct, it's like, whoa, that deliverable that you didn't hit, you're going to walk back out there. You're going to spend 2 more hours, and then you're going to hit it today because the business needs it. And then the next guy comes in, and it's like, what do you got? Oh, you got your deliverables done? Great. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy your night. I'll see you tomorrow at 9. It's not being an asshole. What it is it's running a business. And business was not created to be friendly or make you feel warm. Business was created to support people financially and to grow aspirations. So if you want a paycheck, expect to be held accountable.
I'll say this, and this is just from what I've seen. So oftentimes how we view things and how I've seen from my experience, how people interview to get jobs, a lot is, and I may be off topic, but it was just what came to mind as you were talking. There's, you have a few people who are extremely committed to what you're talking about. And then you have another set group of people who have understand the system. Let me get a good resume. Let me interview real well. Let me come in. But then let me figure out, this is like an unconscionable thing, and I'm not even sure that they're conscious. Let me figure out how to do the least amount of work. Yeah. Let me figure out how to come here and, okay, I want to job at max effort. With Cory, I play for Ohio State. I work out every day. I'm feeding you all the stuff. But how do I come here, get through my 8 hours, and just get by, just so Cory won't yell at me? But then, if I found out that Cory allows me to come late because I can hold a conversation with him in the cooler room, or I can do that stuff and become cool with this person, and they leave that room where accountability isn't strict. I'm not realizing that this is comfortable for me, but this is not business. This is what fucks up business. And so I've had that happen to me. I thought that you could run a business and be sort of friendly and cool all the time. And I used to like dictate that culture. But then when you start to see the actual business being affected with it, the fact that we had these relationships and these lines were blurred, and they looked at me as, you're my homie, you're my dude, you're my peer, because we would be within the same age bracket, you know what I'm saying? Right. I would be like, yo, shit's kind of being fucked up. And so I don't want to say I've turned into an asshole, but I've definitely drew the line. And I said, hey, I am your boss, and I don't call my boss, I'm your leader, right? I lead the charge in what we do, but I don't. If I were to do it again, I would choose this path amongst the other path, sure. Because when you're putting your own money up, when you're putting your own time up, it's really about, did you get the job done or not? All this other stuff. And
you're writing a check.
You're writing a check, but
they ain't paying you.
I think you said something a while ago. Like sometimes people can be so in the groove of giving good advice that they've missed like important shit. And I think that it was something that you said to me, and I even actually had a staff meeting about it, and we had about 15 minutes about this. Like literally, when you go to work, the main thing is the main thing. It's the job. Like being cool is the secondary thing. If we happen to be cool,
friendship is a luxury.
Friendship is a luxury, and so sometimes, like I joke a lot with you. You like, this motherfucker got a personality big as the West Side of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And we joke a lot, but when you said that, that's like a real thing. And I brought that home to a couple people, like, and having a real conversation. Like, dude, like we're cool, but the job is the main thing. If we happen to be cool amongst other things, that's the main thing. And I know I've lost track a little bit.
That's all on track, Mo.
But 100% you're correct. And it's important to lead people. But I think the culture that is so relaxed in America is so Instagram-ish, so much that, I'll get to it when I get to a sort of culture. That's the culture of people. The culture of people is that, hey, fuck it. If this doesn't work out, I'll go do something else. You know what I'm saying? If this, you know what I'm saying? Like real.
Well, I know for me, I had to get better at this. I think working with John early in this kind of process, being able to actually, I've done better actually saying it. Hey, we're not like, because all these guys work out with me, almost every one of them. So I say, we're not talking Cory. I always say, Cory from the gym is rooting you on this morning. Cory at work got a whole different set of like kind of things how we're going to talk about.
That's a big boundary to work out with people, then to work with people.
It's very tricky,
brother. If you don't vocalize,
so that's why I think it's gotten better. It's gotten better when I started to vocalize it.
Yeah,
because then it's John's the one that showed me it because he did it with me. Hey, we're going to put on the business hat right now. We're going to get the ugly stuff, he always says, out the way. Because, we have been really good acquaintances / friends for a long time. But we were also always doing hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million of business. Our whole existence through this friendship is built upon millions of dollars of business, right? And so, like, when you say that, I know that John is not the John I'm joking with in the cooler room. John's coming for John Fosco in business, and so both of us win. As he always says, a deal is when both win. And so if I feel like I'm not winning and I'm paying you, because the guy who writes the check has the fucking leverage every time. That's just the way it is. Whether you believe it's unreasonable or not doesn't matter. It's like I have to just split it and say it that way. And I've gotten better at it, and it's becoming more natural. Because you know what? I didn't work too hard to have people take advantage of me. I'm fucking tired of it.
Exactly.
Oh, brother,
I'm fucking tired of it.
Right.
Right, Mo?
Oh, brother. Yes. Yes.
You weren't locked up for 4 years making yourself better to get out and let some motherfucker take it from you.
Let me tell you this, right? So I started that. So I used to suppress myself. And so since my background, how I got arrested, the things I got arrested with, being in prison, and just sort of my background was heavy, I used to try to suppress myself. And I would have this idea in my mind that I don't want to come off intimidating to people. So I would always over suppress myself. And then I would start to see that people weren't taking advantage of it. They were just taking advantage of the room that I was giving them, the lack of accountability. Because as you see, you'll probably be around me long enough. I don't know how to give a halfway harsh comment. It's either man, dude.
That's why I like you so much, Bo.
You feel where I'm coming from? It's either I'm super suppressed or I'm just delivering the truth of it. You know what I'm saying? And that for a lot of people, I just didn't want to turn him off because I didn't want Jeremy to be like, man, this dude just came at me rough. You know what I'm saying? But I think I've also need to give myself credit. I've built up enough positive shit that I've done post prison to like, okay, I'm a decent guy. You know, I'm in society, I'm working, and the shit that you're doing is just some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And so that is very important, man. Business is just accountability, bro. Like when you talk about it, like when you walk into some of the most massively successful companies, when you walk into L brands, when you walk into just massively like great places, or just think about hospitals. When you go into fucking hospitals,
there's a cadence, dude.
There's a cadence. There is a cadence of seriousness. We're handling our business. It's only when we're young and we're wearing jeans, we're wearing t-shirts, and we think that everybody's going to be fucking Google or Mark Zuckerberg or everything is the loungy. You know, like when you think people love to say I'm handling business, and they love to go to Starbucks and show the table and the MacBook and all the little cute
working
shit.
From the beach,
bro.
You know,
like that's what they love.
Shut
But
the
that's
fuck up.
But that gives a signal off like I can just be totally relaxed, kick my feet up, make millions, like no problem. Life is great. Let me throw a cigar in my mouth. Let me just kick back and chill and
take a picture. Make sure you take the picture. It's from the right angle, dude.
But you
my
heard
right
from
triceps bigger.
John.
You know.
Yeah, but I mean, but like, you know, so like, and I often believe like, so when you grow up in that generation, like there's people who have worked to that spaces, and these people have worked themselves in that space. But then there's also people who are part of the machine to make these things work. And if you're a part of the machine to make that thing work, then you have to deliver. You know what I'm saying? As much as you talked about the vendor who you all have, you have to deliver. You know what I'm saying? And there has to be some accountability. And like I said, I don't want to go on that whole tangent. And I even forgot the topic that we're even talking about, but this shit is all relevant.
I think that it's I think it's just something that it either comes a little bit more natural, but John's worked on it for years, and that's a trait of his that I like. And I'm not going to be it's not ruthless but as aggressive as John. That's just not my nature. But I have to get closer to there to be a better businessman, and I knew that, right? But taking some of the things that he said to me when we were doing business, I was able to then grab and then move on and say with them, and then seeing your progression too, Mo, because I think even though y'all's personalities, the directness is a little bit closer, but I could see how coming from the background, how you were like, you know, repressing yourself to the point where you didn't want to come off that way. But you know, at the end of the day, that's what's going to make it work.
But I found out, man, if you don't hold people accountable, if you don't set clear expectations and you allow them to do what you want to, you will throw a bunch of money out the window. And if you don't hold accountability to any of these guys, a job that could have been done in 2 hours will get done in 8 hours. And then we start thinking about the cost. Okay, what did I pay that person for the other 6 hours? Then what could they have been working on? You start to think like that. You start to think a bit different, and you start to say to yourself, like, this person is just kind of doing what they want to because, one, they either don't have clear direction. Two, I'm not just establishing boundaries or something to that effect. So,
or if I replace this person, is it hurting me, right? See, that's how every employee needs to look at themselves. Like, I'm getting paid X. They can replace me, and there's a line of motherfuckers to take my job. You better work like that. You better work like there's a line of fucking people to take your job, because so many people are like, I get paid what I get paid. Well, dude, if you're not working with vigor and focus, we'll get you the fuck out of here, and someone will happily take your job, and they will deliver, because we will set the expectation. So it's like people, I work with the weight of the world on my back, because I don't want my name to be associated with anything that's not winning, right? And I don't have to do that. Right? So guys who are trying to come up, and they actually have to make a rent payment, they actually have to make a car payment, and they work like ho-hum. You're going to be ho-humming when you're 40, making the same amount of money, and you're going to wonder why you're 40, and you're getting interviewed by a 25-year-old, and you're getting paid the same amount of money. It's just all understanding, like, forget what Cory says or John says. I have an opportunity here to smash it. So if they tell me to do this, I'm going to do that times 6, because I'm here to fucking win. That's it.
Well, to that point, John, at one place it took me, even if you're a business owner and having this issue, one thing that going through these issues has taught me to interview better. It has taught me to ask better questions. It has
Yeah.
taught me to ask what's important in Jeremy's life. What type of responsibility does he have? What does he really want to be? How much time is he willing to sacrifice to this thing? And I think when you first starting off, this is just for me, you know, y'all been in this game a lot longer than me. I didn't know to ask these questions. I was strictly, let me hire people who have the appropriate resume. But the resumes don't mean shit. What means shit is that do you have people who are willing to be trained and go above and beyond what you're talking about them doing? And you have to have people on your squad who, this is just the basic thing, you have to have people on your squad who don't mind having responsibility, because at the end of the day, that's all of what we're talking about, is just people who avoid having their responsibility and extra responsibilities placed on them. And I would rather take a motherfucker who is just unconscionable, like, I'm down with you, I'm down to do whatever, I'm down to learn, I'm down to grow, I'm down to spend extra hours, I'm not going to bitch about it, I'll get everything done, and I'll get more done. Those are the people you can grow with. The guy with the pretty resume who thinks that I'll just rest on my resume or I'll rest on my accomplishments before that guy's not the guy you want to have, because I told you like this, I heard this a long time ago, what you did yesterday doesn't mean shit. And that may be the greatest saying that I've ever heard, and one of the most things I've placed in the back of my brain, that what you did yesterday doesn't mean shit. You're always constantly proving yourself to yourself personally that, you know, I'm earning my keep, or I'm earning my position within the company and excelling and growing. So that's my 2 cents.
Can you tweet that shit so I can retweet it? What you did yesterday don't mean shit.
I'll say it. I'm going to say it on the
Tweet
video.
that shit, Mo.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
You good, Johnny?
Yeah.
That was a good episode.
That's a fact, what he just said.
No,
I like that.
100%.
Yeah.
It was, hey, brought to you by Robinhood. We're talking a lot of business. If you guys want to get out into the marketplace, no barrier of entry. Go to biceps.robinhood.com, and they will give you a free stock.
Cory.
They will give you a free stock, John.
Just listen to me for a minute.
Apple
Okay,
Florida Spring.
everyone who's listening to this podcast, they're making money.
I believe they are.
They're scrapping out there, you know what I'm saying? And we have these talks all the time. What are they doing with it? They need to download the Robinhood app, and they need to experience the American financial system, dude. Seriously, there's so much money to be made. And Maurice downloaded it.
That's what the
you know
fuck
what?
I'm talking about.
I'm handing off the ball to Mo.
Mo,
tell us about Robinhood.
Yes.
Well, I took the first step and downloaded it.
There we go.
Next week, I'll activate it.
Oh,
Pick up my free share.
Okay, Kyle's still ahead of you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
Well, at least
I'm
I
on
downloaded
time with 3, 2. Can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast can't be stopped.
1 hour on the fucking nose.
There we go.
Point.
3, 2, 1. If you're gonna do something, just deliver on the right time frame. Just do what you say you're gonna do, right, John?
Yeah, you don't walk out of the room when things are still recording. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to capture the whole experience. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think, Mo?
Hey,
You got a soft spot for motherfuckers?
no, do what you say.